All right, konbawa, Erickson, how are you? Thank you so much for making the time. Since you mentioned about you wanted to research on the principle of pacing, I did some research since we talked about it. Pacing as a principle can apply to many different things. In this case, I'm naming it to be Erickson Principles of Life #1. So this may be the only video we create based on your guidance, or maybe you can come up with more principles you'd like to learn about, or any subject, then we can create one. So in terms of the context, you can pace for yourself personally. You can pace interpersonally. For example, Auntie Adora and myself. Auntie Adora is very fast in what she does. She plans trips, she arranges different things for JoJo, and I'm fast on certain things. But as a group, we also need to pace, because when you, me, and Kai, and Alan, and Auntie Adora went to Taki's Canyon in Palm Springs, our pacing as a group was also dependent on Kai. The weather was very hot. We were concerned that he might overheat, dehydrate. And also, when you look at an organization such as Citigroup, which was 230,000 people, now imagine how do you set the speed or the pace of an organization. So there are different variations in terms of pacing. You need to pace when something is really difficult. Of course, you pace on how fast you drink, you pace on how much you eat, you even pace how much you sleep. You don't want to be sleeping 3 hours every night. You also don't want to be sleeping 15 hours every night. So pacing is applicable to everything. But for something like the Hawaiian Ironman, which is what you see on the screen here, the Ironman is 2.4 miles of swim in the ocean, 112 miles bike ride on the big island of Hawaii, the island of Kona. And then you finish with the marathon. So you do the 3 events back to back. When you want to do an event like this, so here is everybody swimming in the ocean for the 2.4 miles. And then when you go to Hawaii, you will see, I've been to the big island of Hawaii maybe 3-4 times, went to Maui 3-4 times, went to Honolulu 3-4 times, Kona couple 3 times. These are beautiful places. One day we should go there together, God willing. So the Ironman is like really a big deal, and if you don't plan it, if you don't think about your pacing, it's almost impossible. So pacing in a race or in any project, right? So we talked about that. Pacing controls the speed. The performance depends on the speed, and the speed, it's addressing on the top. It is what you do when you have done everything else, because you must have the strength, you must have the stamina, you must have the self-control. Self-control meaning you don't go crazy and sprint and run uphill and lift 250 pounds and injure yourself. So we need to have the 3 good P's in order to get strength, stamina, and self-control. Planning, preparation, and preventing crisis. With proper preparation for something like a marathon, it's very important. So pacing is the tip of the iceberg. When you want to pace, do you want to just finish? Depending on how you feel, do you just want to finish, or you want to come in first, or do you want to set a personal record? This woman, this lady, lead marathon runner for the LA Marathon in 1994, she had diarrhea or something. Something was wrong with her stomach. So she had to go to the bathroom. halfway through the marathon. She actually did. She ran inside this gas station, and when she came out, she cut the corner. So even though she finished first, but they said she was disqualified because she skipped like 250 feet. That's pretty sad, right? And the elite runners, when they win a major marathon like the LA Marathon, the prize money was $55,000 in addition to a Mercedes-Benz or to a Honda car. So these people train professionally, and if they win one or two races, that's like $100,000 a year. That's how they live. So it's very important that they try to win. Anyways, pacing is always according to the true north. True north as in a compass, depending on the situation, depending on how you feel, your goal is going to change, whether you just want to finish or whether you want to win. Right? In this case, she wanted to win, but she was disqualified. Reminds me of it's an old joke. A taxi driver is going down Manhattan, and after half an hour, it was clear that the driver was lost. So the passenger looked over and saw that the driver's GPS was showing a map of LA. So here, this Uber or Lyft or taxi driver in Manhattan, New York, he was navigating using a map of LA, which was the wrong thing to do. So the passenger said, "No wonder we are lost." And the driver goes, "Hey, listen, give me a break. I'm going as fast as I can." So it's pointless, right? Because he would never get there. He was using the wrong map. So let's apply the 3 good P's. Planning. You can sign up for an Ironman. You can sign up for a marathon. I have run 5Ks, 10Ks, marathons. I have never done a full Ironman triathlon. And the principles which we talked about previously, PPSPS, posture, pacing, strategy, philosophy, and spirit, these principles can apply to everything. You can even apply this just to planning. How fast do you want to pace your planning, for example? Preparation, right? Let's say you want to run a marathon. So that you want to prepare, you can join the track team like you did. You can join a weekly practice running club, such as the LA Leggers or the Road Runners Club. They begin to train in July of every year, and they end up with the LA Marathon, culminating on the LA Marathon, which takes place on the first Sunday of March. And as part of preparation, you want to have multiple pairs of running socks, Kumax socks, shoes, good shoes, Kumax shirt, nice shorts, hat, visor, sunblock, protein bars. Because if you are running 3, 4, 5 hours, you get hungry along the way. So you have these power bars that you can eat along the way, which is what I used to do. I also used to wear hat, wristbands, and headband, so the sweat doesn't drip into my eyes, and the salt in the sweat can really sting the eyes. And I also subscribed to running magazine back then. All of that is part of preparation. For example, preventing crisis, right? You don't wear a new pair of shoes. You don't do anything new. You want to hydrate properly. You want to make sure that you don't fall and you don't pull a muscle and injure yourself. Race day, right? When you have done all the preparation, now the race day is here. They have a thing called the carbo loading dinner the night before the marathon. Don't do it. I did it. I overate. I had a hard time sleeping, so that was not a good thing to do. You want to warm up properly. You want to stretch, hydrate. You don't want to stretch cold. Always be careful. Take money with you. Are you gonna take your cell phone with you on a 26-mile run? I'm not sure. Back then, when I was running marathons, some restaurants in Chinatown, they used to offer free dim sum, and some other bars were giving out beer, and people actually stop and eat and drink. I don't do that because they open the streets to traffic after 6 hours. So if you take longer than 6 hours, you will have to wait for the traffic lights. You have to go between cars. And also it's important not to over drink. If you drink too much water, you will be looking for bathrooms along the way, right? Which takes away too much of the time. The law of the harvest. This is a very important law. Why? Because if you really understand it, you have to plant, you have to sow the seeds, you have to water it, you have to fertilize it, you have to prepare. You need to go out and run 2-3 times a week or 4 times a week in order to run a marathon in good time. So if you do the proper preparation, for example, if you are planting a tree, what you can do is you water, you fertilize, and you take care of the plant. After you have done what you're supposed to do, the results will come. So what that means is you don't have to think, oh, I have to run faster, I have to you don't have to reach, you don't have to mentally try for anything. You just take your body, you exercise it, you do what you need to do. Then the law of the harvest will take over, because you can choose your action, but the results or the consequences of your actions will come from what you have done. So you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just like you take a ball, you throw it up to the sky. You don't have to wish for the ball to come down, because it will. So focus on what we need to do, and we don't have to worry too much. Okay, talk about pacing. In order for the marathon to be fairly fast, the marathons, the sponsors, they put in a rabbit. A rabbit is a runner, is an elite runner who runs really fast and sets the pace up to the 15th mile, right? Make sense? Okay. And then the rabbit is supposed to drop out. But in 1994, the rabbit decided not to drop out from the race. He decided to continue and finish the race. And if the rabbit drops out as planned, he will get paid by the marathon sponsors. But because he decided to finish the marathon, so he forfeited, he gave up the money that they were going to pay him. And guess what? He won the race. Usually the rabbit is not fast enough to win the race, but he actually won the race. And the Italian guy who thought he was going to win the race, I think I sent this YouTube video to you last week. The Italian finisher was really surprised because he thought he had won, but the rabbit actually won. Did that make sense? Did you understand it? Okay. So here. Horses are made to run, fish are made to swim, birds are made to fly. People, human beings, are made to think. So pacing as a principle is very important in running a marathon, in running even 2 miles or half a mile around the track. But really, pacing is a skill that is transferable to other areas of your life, right? Okay, so I'm dedicating this recording today to Erickson, and I'm sorry I'm not very smooth because I was up at 5:30 a.m. It's been a long day, a hard week, and I have to work this weekend. I was going to work tonight, but I'm devoting this time to doing this video with you. Thank you so much, domo arigato, for making yourself available. The idea to share this with you is so you hear some of the principles. It may not make too much sense. You can watch it again if you like, and we can repeat other principles, and then eventually you will get, in my mind, what is principle-centered leadership. That means you lead yourself by principles, not what your teacher says, not what, and you should listen to your teachers, but you will know how to do things based on the principles. So go deep into everything that you do, that you enjoy. Don't hurt yourself. Go to the fringes. This means take it to the extreme, meaning Yeah, if you say, okay, I'm gonna do this for 20 minutes, it doesn't really tell you too much. So go deep, go to the extremities, and then you study the law, study the Tao of creation. Look at the how things work. Understand how a car works, how glasses work, how your iPhone, how your phone works, and understand the laws, the universal laws that govern our creation. Once you understand it, then you can align with it and you can use it. Duality, pain, and sadness. This is basically saying, I'm so happy, I'm so sad, I don't like it, I like it, it is too fast, it is too slow. That's what they mean by duality, the, the, the good and bad of life. And then oftentimes there's pain and sadness. But if you study the Tao, you will come to an understanding, and the wisdom and the peace will be yours because you understand how things work. So even if it's not working out the way you want it to work out, at least you understand it. And that will give you peace of mind. So my wish for you is to share some of these principles with you so you can understand the Tao. The Tao is the creation. The word Tao is like Aikido in Japanese. Aikido, Do is the Tao. Taekwondo, Hapkido, Karate. In Chinese is empty hand, Kongso Tao. So Tao is the way. Okay, that's what it means. A big bird does not perch on a small twig. A large fish does not live in a shallow creek. A big beast does not hide behind a small clump of weed. Why not? Because that's not the way. That's what they mean, the Tao. For everything, there's a way. There's a way to drink. There's a way to wear clothes. There's a way to comb your hair. There's a way to clean your eyes. There's a way to brush your teeth. There's a way to be a student. There's a way to be a son. There's a way for everything, and they call that the Tao. And when you go against the cosmic current of the Tao, you will exhaust yourself and you will be swept away. So what that means is whether you believe in gravity or not, gravity is going to win over you. When you begin to understand your own nature, you begin to understand the nature of other people. When you begin to understand the nature of other people, you begin to understand the nature of all people. When you begin to understand the nature of all people, you begin to understand the nature of all things. Listen to this, Erickson. When you begin to understand the nature of all things, you can participate with heaven and earth in the transformation of life. So that's the benefit of understanding how things really work, what's behind everything and anything. And not that I know any of it, but I've been studying for 30 years. I'll do some definition quickly. So we talked about pace, right? Pace is basically speed. Inertia says a body at rest is likely to stay at rest, and a body in movement is likely to be moving, to continue to move, right? Like momentum. Let's say you didn't think about doing a video. So I had no idea I was going to do a video on pacing until you talked to me 2 weeks ago, right? So I was at rest. Then I began to accelerate, and I gained velocity, high speed, very quickly, because I have momentum in doing this kind of video stuff based on principles over the last 10 years. And then you go into flow. That means you are at the state where you can accomplish things, you can get a request and produce a result very quickly. Okay? Right? Timing. When should you begin to accelerate? When should you let go? Because even if you stop, the momentum will carry you for a while. And when we talk about speed, we have to talk about power, right? In the outer wall, a bird of prey, a predator can shatter the body of a prey bird because of timing. And the river can toss rocks the size of homes because of momentum. So we are talking about getting power and getting ability to make things happen in the world. All right. So pacing is tied to all of these things. They're all related. Okay? Make sense so far? Or all right. So we will look at the Falcon, Peregrine Falcon. We'll look at the Blackbird, the bird. Remember the airplane we saw with Ye, Eric, and Kai? That airplane by downtown LA across from USC. Hitler in World War II. I think he conquered like 20-some countries in 9 months. He had incredible speed, incredible acceleration, incredible velocity, incredible momentum, and he was really in flow. But in my humble opinion, he was doing something very, very wrong, right? Jack Welch was the CEO of GE, General Electric. In one of the videos of him as the CEO of GE, I think General Electric has, I don't know, 300,000 people. It's a huge global company with businesses and subsidiaries in 100 plus countries. In one of the videos, he was talking to his CEOs, and he said, "Gentlemen or ladies, show your people your speed." So it's very important to be able to execute quickly. But then you have to know what to execute. So the context is decisive. Context is decisive. So once you get the big picture, the art of execution is a framework for transforming a family or a company or a corporation. It has 4 pillars to it. And the first pillar is the leader's edge skills, which you get the big picture. So knowing how to pace, knowing the speed, knowing how to do, you are being recorded bouncing back and forth, which is fine, just so you realize it. No, it's okay. It's our video. We can do whatever we want, right? But just always be aware. Okay. So to have the big picture, so you understand, are you doing the right thing very quickly, or are you doing the wrong thing very quickly? Do the right thing versus doing the thing right. See this? Do the right thing versus doing the thing right. Pacing can easily mean doing the wrong thing very quickly. Then how do you know what the right thing is? How do you know you should or should not do certain things? So the principles, once you connect to them, once you have a chance to see more of them, they will tell you what the true north is, and you will tell you what the leader's edge skills gives you the big picture. And this is what we call the principle-centered leadership. So when somebody tells you anything, you'll be able to use the principles and evaluate if that thing is the right thing to do. Pacing is relative to yourself. Everything is interdependent. Before the creation of the universe, all we had was space. If there was a Big Bang, after the Big Bang, there was space and stardust. E equals mc squared. Then stardust formed into planets, and then mountain, and then river, and then trees, and all of that. So what's the point? The point is, Erickson, everything is interdependent. You are not a son without your parents. You are not a brother without your siblings. Like JoJo has no siblings, so she has no brother or no sister, right? So all of our existence is dependent on external things and other things. Where are you? You are at home. Where? In Hacienda Heights. Where are you? You are sitting on top of a chair. Who are you? Your name is Eric, but you could have been called Kai. I mean, it's just a name that was given to the child, right? So this is to say that everything is relative to everything else. Everything is related to everything else. Everything is dependent on everything else. So pacing, same thing, is relative to other things. to the situation, or to your brother, or to the other team of runners, or to the other basketball team, or to the wrestling team. Everything is relative, and by definition, you cannot be a good brother if your brothers don't think you are good. You may think you are the best, but your definition, like I think I'm a fantastic husband. I'm really a nice guy, but Auntie Adora thinks I'm a jerk, right? So she defines me as a husband, and I define her as a wife, because without me as her husband, she cannot be a wife. So her role as a wife is relative to somebody else. Sometimes we forget that. We're just gonna go, well, you are stupid. I'm better than you are. But then if I convince my wife that she's dumb, that means her husband is married to a dumb person. I mean, if you look at this, so that's part of duality skills. Duality skills. We will then also talk about variations. Variations, right? So even me, even you change. So last Friday we were gonna do this recording, but then it didn't work out. Then we changed it to this Friday today. Like for example, if I'm not feeling well, or you got off the wrong side of the bed, the variation of the self. The self is constantly changing, and the conditions are changing. You may be recovering from a cold, from injuries, from whatever, or you studied too hard. You didn't sleep for 2 nights because you were cramming for your exams. So variation is always there. Always understand variation in people. Of course, Kai doesn't have the background, therefore many things he cannot know. Or if Alan is focused on doing something else, and while you talk to him, then he cannot remember what you said. So always be aware of variation, and treat people and handle these variations with understanding and wisdom, and not anger and want to punish them because they don't behave the way you think they should. They may or may not be skilled. Synergize means the stronger will compensate for the weaker. If you are racing with somebody and you have teammates, you are in a relay race, your teammates are slower than you are, then you need to compensate. What can you do to train them, to help them to have protein for food, to share the knowledge you have? So synergize is where you work with the strength between people rather than saying, well, I'm good and you are bad. That's not synergy. That is win-lose. Synergy is win-win, right? Okay, so, and not only that, sometimes you are in a situation where people are hostile. They want to beat you up. They want to dominate you. They want to throw you out. They want to get rid of you. So this is when you must have cohesive skills, conflict management skills. I've studied Aikido with the grace of Bob Ito and the universe, that I learned cohesive skills. I don't know it too well, but I studied for 20 plus years. How do you handle such variations? If you want to pace, if you want to go fast, but some people are intentionally trying to stop you, what do you do, right? You know Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator? He was Mr. Yeah, great. He was Mr. Universe. So one time before he was competing, I'm not bad-mouthing him, this is a true story, he told the story himself. He had this lotion, this oil, this lotion, which was like, I guess like tiger balm. It was very hot, it will burn you up. And he told the guy, well, it's cool, you will make your body shine. So he gave it to his opponent, and his opponent put it on. And then the opponent had to go and, I don't know, take a shower and was itching all over. So, hey, people play dirty tricks to get ahead. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. The point is, sometimes in life, you need to make progress. You need to keep your speed, even if people are coming against you, right? All right. And you should be able to read the situation. If the situation is not ready to go, the timing is off, just back off. There's always tomorrow. And in the meantime, you can do something else. You can learn Spanish. You can learn French, German, Italian. I don't care. learn how to fix your car or whatever. When you have a car, you're only not 16, fully 16 yet. Guiding principles, okay, we talked about doing the right thing is leadership, doing the thing right is management. Okay? Doing the right thing is leadership, doing the thing right is management. I have lived personally, I'm not saying you should. I have lived the last 30 years, especially the first 20 years, I lived by three principles. If you gain the whole world but lose your soul, what have you gained? You may not believe in a soul, you may not believe in anything, that's fine. Neither did I until I was almost 29. And then the other principle I followed was seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and the rest will be added unto you. That means basically you learn to be good, you learn to be hardworking, you learn to be kind, you learn to be generous, you learn to be charitable. And these are the qualities, the kingdom of God, and the righteousness, meaning you do the right things. And then the rest will be added to you. Then the money, I don't really want too much money or fame, be honest with you, because I have enough, I'm happy, but I can do more in the world and help people. So for that, I shall strive. And then the last saying, which I got as a principle for myself for the last 30 years was, all else can wait, the search for truth cannot wait, the search for God cannot wait. So what does this mean? That means when some things are going against some of these principles, I do not do it. Even if I can do it really, really quickly, even though I can pace it very well, even though I've done the 3 good P's, planning, preparation, preventing crisis, I will not do it. Because if I accomplish it and I harm a lot of people, what have I gained? What's the point if I end up in hell or stuff like that? If you don't believe in hell, that's a different conversation for a different day. So to protect yourself, that you don't pace yourself with high speed, velocity, momentum, acceleration to do the wrong things, you can look at the Tao. I gave you 2 hard copies of the fortune cookie wisdom, which I translated from Chinese to English for Alan's first birthday, right? Do you remember that? I gave that to you? Those two pieces of fortune cookie wisdom. I gave you that paper, the 10 commandments, and quit doing wrong. So those are the things they are very good guidelines on doing the right thing. Do you remember those 2 pieces of paper I gave you like 3 weeks ago? Maybe you don't. It was at the bottom of the bag. Yeah, exactly. 2 copies. All right. So here we have it. This is a universal statement. Okay? This is true of everything. A tsunami began with 1 drop. 1 drop. Every day you have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts going through your mind. Okay? Every day you have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts, Erickson, that go through your mind. Maitreya Bodhisattva said, every second there are 2.4 billion vibrations in the mind. The consciousness, the speed of the thought is so fast. And the Dr. Hu Lang, the teacher of Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. You can see this in YouTube. Dr. Hu Lang said, at any moment there are 10 million pieces of data available to the consciousness. Okay? So that means every day, so let's think of this as a thought. Every day there are 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts. So depending on what you think, when it rains, there's a flood, but the flood began with 1 drop, and then 2 drops. And not only in your conscious awakening hours are you thinking, you also dream. Also the mind goes through REM, rapid eye movement sleep, where your body is your mind, your conscious mind, subconscious mind is processing the events of the day. So what's the point? The point is there are many thoughts in a day. Many, right? And you can use the thoughts to create, according to the teachers and the principles, whatever you want. These came from one drops. I mean, if you look at anybody, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson, or Bruce Lee, and whether you like it or not, I'm not talking about politics. Donald Trump, he never went to Harvard. He was never in politics per se. But look at the level of power he has acquired. Or let's see who else. Steve Jobs, the Apple guy, right? Everything started with a thought. That's how they started. And they focused their thought on those things until they were able to change the world. And same with running a track, same with studying math, same with buying ice cream. You can eat 2 gallons of ice cream a day, and in a year you will be 250 pounds. Right? I'm not making fun of fat people. What I'm trying to say is, if you put your mind to it, you will do it. If you want to run a marathon, you will. If you want to become a doctor, you will. If you really want something, it will happen. Why? Because you have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts every day. And even when you are sleeping, your mind is working. So you can create anything you want. Did that make sense? Do you remember the meaning of the word sincere? Without wax, right? Sine sere, right? Sincere. You remember that? Okay, so the question is, are we going to live a life of sincerity or insincerity, waxy or not? The reason they say sincere is without wax, because they used to sell sculptures which were cracked, so they rub wax into it, and then somebody buys a sculpture, takes it home, puts the sculpture in the garden. The sun shines on the sculpture. You are being videotaped with your big mouth. It's okay. It's cute. And then when the sun shines, the statue begins to weep, begins to sweat. Then people know it's fake. Then when the merchants was selling statues, they would say sine sere, without wax. Okay? So it's about integrity, it's about honesty. Like, can you go and lift weights? Can you lift 250 pounds just overnight because you want to? Can you do that? You cannot, because your body does not lie. But if you work at it every day, maybe you can do it in 2 years or 1 year, right? So anything is possible. You can have anything you want, but you cannot have everything you want, because you only have so much time. So here, let's take a quick look. Colorado River started high up in the mountains. Colorado, the waterhead from some springs, and the water flows through different states: Nevada, Utah, California, and eventually it enters Baja California here, right? So it travels like 1,500 miles, right? Now imagine when the water at the waterhead at the spring in Colorado, rather than flowing west, it started to flow east. It went down this way. By the time it hits the Gulf of Mexico, for example. So at the beginning, Erickson, when the water came out from the spring, the water molecules are within, let's say, 5-10 feet of each other, right? Then the one that flowed west versus the one that flowed east, eventually when they reach their final destinations, if they make it, they are almost 2,000-3,000 miles apart, right? Okay, so that's the difference between wax or no wax. When somebody has taken the path of integrity, honesty, and sincerity, they will be able to lift 250 pounds. And the other person may weigh 250 pounds. I'm not making fun of fat people, don't get me wrong. I respect everybody. But you got a point, right? So it's something very small, and you build it every day with your 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts every day. So this is part of the Leader's Edge skills. We have about 15, 20 minutes left. So I'm trying to speed up a little bit. Life Glacier. So this gives you the big picture. Leader's Edge gives you the big picture. So Erickson is here. So whatever Erickson chooses to do, you are strongly influenced by your teacher, your family, your environment in the relationships, right? So if Alan-san goes, I'm really stressed because Japanese and whatever math, his stressful reaction, according to him, is tied to the relationships and it's tied to the group. In a company, it's called a team. In a family, it's called a group, right? Right. So, and then the project is Japanese, or the project is the trip to Tokyo, to Nagoya. The product of a family is to produce wholesome and happy children and wholesome and happy family members, the industry. So everything is interconnected. We must understand. We cannot look at something in isolation by itself because they are all connected, right? In some families, unfortunately, the parents die. Then the husband becomes a widower, the wife becomes a widow, and the children become orphans if both parents die. So those are very, clear examples of our interdependent relationships and how everything impacts everything else, right? 7 dimensions of family or of work. So there's a lot of topic here. Processes. This, I have done 1 week-long workshops on processes, principles of effectiveness, 7 habits of highly effective people. I was a certified trainer in the 7 habits of highly effective people within Citigroup. So you have 6 days of workshop right here. Then existential principles are boundary skills, ego skills, identity skills, and duality skills. So those are big topics. So remember, Erickson, there's a book called Healing the Inner Child, Healing the Child Within, I think, by Charles Whitefield. It says children of dysfunctional families, adult children of dysfunctional families, basically they have some traits. They have all or nothing behavior. They have unclear boundaries. They have inability to say no. So all of those are existential principles. And the 6 human traits, the nature of reality, those are topics for a different time because human beings are made to be so egotistical. All of us are egotistical. And that's why 100 million people died in warfare in the last century alone. So enough with the big picture. So a quick review. What allows something to fly? When the lift is greater than the drag, then you will become airborne, right? So this doesn't look like an airplane. It's a hot air balloon. So there's the principle of flight. So here, this is a principle. The principle of flight transcends how big the airplane is, what shape it is, what hour it is, whether it's in Taiwan, Tokyo, Japan, Africa, Argentina, doesn't make any difference. I'm going to skip some of these because we're out of time. A principle, this is very important. Principle gives you predictable result. So depending on what you want, you can get for yourself if you know the principle behind it. Predictable, repeatable, like the gravity. You drop it anytime, anywhere, with anybody, grandmother, your sister, your brother, and it works with or without your understanding, like the gravity. So depending on what you want from life, what you are thinking about, you want to accomplish, once you understand the principles, then you can generate yourself. Did that make sense so far? Why? Tiger moth. This tiger moth has the ability, when the bat sees a moth, the bat sends out the sonar, right? Right? And once the sonar hits the moth, the echo will come back. And based on how fast the echo comes back, if it reaches the bat's left ear before the right ear, that means the moth is flying to the left, whether it's away or towards the bat, so the bat can tell from the way the echo comes back to it, right? So right before the bat attacks the moth, the tiger moth, the bat increases the frequency of the radar, of the sonar emitted towards the moth, and the moth can detect that. Can you imagine? The moth has a radar detector under the belly, and then the moth will stop. But having stopped is not good enough, because now the bat knows where the moth is, because the last time the sonar came back, that's where the moth went, right? So now the bat is coming in for the kill. Guess what the tiger moth does? The tiger moth can emit an ultrasonic sound, which jams the radar of the bat, and the bat gets confused, doesn't know where it is. So what's the point with this story? The point is, the tiger moth has developed the ability, use the principles of radar detection and radar jamming techniques to stay alive. Did that make sense? So what's the point? The point is, if you align with some principles, if you really understand the principles of personal best, of pacing, of doing the right thing versus doing the thing right, these principles, Erickson, will guide you and protect you in and out of the battles of life and death for you and your family for the next 100 years. So what are constants in? There are two constants in this life: change and principles. You are 16, you are no longer 5. And 5 years from today, you were 15, huh? Yeah. Finish 15, going on 16, right? Your birthday was in March. March what? March 12, okay. Now we all know. All right. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this in detail. We don't have too much time. So principle transcends space-time and circumstances. And remember this, if you remember one thing from today, they are your most reliable, most loyal friends and companions and coaches. The principles are always there for you. You can always reach out to them. You can always use the principles, and they will not fail you. Okay? And if it didn't make any sense, we can talk about it. You can come up with some other top topics, and I will create. So we talked about definition, right? We defined all of these things already. We talked about water and the birds of prey, timing, principles of pacing. It's 10:02 right now. Applies elsewhere, because once you learn pacing in running, then you will know how to pace in studying. You will know how to pace in eating. You will know how to pace in getting a girlfriend. I mean, Auntie Adora and I don't know, your parents. The recommendation is focus on studying until you finish your college, because you can go, you will have a relationship the rest of your life, but you will not have the opportunity to study full time the rest of your life, unless you are lucky or somehow. So there's a season for everything. This is the time to build a solid foundation. We'll skip some of this. Okay, we talked about a winning general, according to the art of war. They runs the war. This is a typo here, the war, like the sun rising and setting. So the idea is the sing-song test, the PPSPS, pacing. Pacing is that you don't burn yourself out, and you do it in a way that's pleasant within your personal best. And that way you can do it forever. Because why? Because you're not killing yourself. Remember the goose and the goose and that lays the golden egg? Do you remember what the story, how the story went? Fantastic. Yeah, good job, man. You should be doing the the, the recording instead of me. I'm really tired, right now. That was good. All right. So the speed, the pacing of the farmer was faster than the goose able to produce the golden eggs. So if you like Kai or if you like Alan to behave a certain way, you gotta make sure that they have the ability to produce what you want. So rather than telling them what they are not doing, question is what can you do to help them to produce what you want, right? It's a basic principle. It's called PPC balance. Production/production capability, they must be balanced. The ability to produce has to be there before you can produce it. But people oftentimes says, I want to go the next. I want you to get in there. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. But hey, he hasn't trained. How can he lift 250 pounds? If you force him, he will kill himself. He will hurt himself, right? So that is what this means. All right, so we talked about the 3 good P's. Let's talk about the 3 bad P's quickly. The 3 bad P's. Procrastinate. Listen, procrastinate. Do not procrastinate. Do not put off to tomorrow what you can do today. Proximate. Oh, it's right next to me. My phone, my puzzle, my game. Let me just spend some time at my TV. I'm not making fun of them. Just that once you figure out what you want, then you have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts to do it. But if you procrastinate and you do what's next to you, you do what's a popular thing to do, your friends, all the girls want to go out with you, you are Mr. whatever, good looking and handsome, friendly, then just make sure you make those choices intentionally because time will pass. Whether you do or don't, time will pass. One day you will be 50. Pressing, the phone rings, but is it really important to answer the phone now? For example, pretend and paralysis. People know something is wrong, but they pretend it's okay. They pretend they can lie and get away with it. Paralysis is like, well, it doesn't look right. Things are not going well, but I really don't know what to do. Right? So these are the 6 bad P's. Avoid them. Lay a foundation of sincerity without wax, right? Sine cere. And you will be excellent for pacing and you know what you should pace on. So let's go very quickly now. Here's the story of Perry, the peregrine falcon that lives in Rome. This is a true story in YouTube. These birds eat other birds and they catch other birds in mid-flight. A peregrine falcon flying flat out can go 50 miles per hour. And guess how fast a household pigeon, a regular pigeon, can fly flat out? 50 miles per hour. Same speed. The peregrine falcon, 50. The peregrine falcon and the pigeon, when they are in a flat race, they fly at the same speed. Then how can the falcon ever catch a pigeon, right? They go into a stoop. A stoop is where they drop the shoulders, they fold their wings, they folding their feet. You see that? That's called a stoop. It's a stoop. So the peregrine falcon is in a full stoop. When it is stooping, guess how fast it can go? 235 miles is the top speed recorded for a peregrine falcon. You can watch this in YouTube. And this one, I did the research. Look at what it did. There was a flock of starlings. See this? Can you see the birds? The birds are flying so fast you can barely see them. starlings. So the Falcon knows where the starling is flying to, and based on the trajectory and the momentum, the Falcon would go ahead of where the bird is and intercept. You are being recorded with your mouse, and then intercept the starling in mid-flight. Can you imagine? But the reason it's able to do it so quickly is because it has the ability to go for a stoop. Okay? So the idea in my mind is once you learn how to pace, you learn acceleration, you will have the ability to stoop as well. Okay? The human equivalent is that your mind is focused, like you move a lot, your body is aching, same as mine. That's really a reflection of the mind because the body and mind is connected. When the mind is really calm through meditation, chant Amitabha, chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, whatever you want to do, Japanese, whatever, control your mind, protect your mind, and your body will calm down. Then you will be able to focus your mind and focus your energy. Then you can create that wave, that tsunami to get what you want. Make sense? I'm not criticizing you, okay? Don't get me wrong. See a solution, full stoop. You can read this afterwards. I know you are gone. We don't have to go through it now. If you are interested, you can read through this afterwards by yourself. You can pause the video, and then you can ask me quick questions if you have them. Okay? All right. So let's continue to go. And one in time principle. So you can read this on your own. And we don't have time to go through all this. I'm just going to run through the slides now. Variation. Just now I was saying, unclear boundaries, all or nothing behavior, inability to say no. Effectiveness. Today you said, okay, you are late because dinner went long and the phone didn't work. So I trust you that, once you say, and you said maybe 8:20, you didn't say exactly. So the key principle between people is trust. Not everybody is trustworthy in everything. Don't trust me to cook a fantastic dinner because I'm not really a good cook. I don't have the skills, right? So trust is based on character and competence. Somebody has to be without wax, has to be sincere, and they must have the skills. Would you trust a doctor who is really, really nice but never went to medical school? Yeah, so trustworthiness is based on character and competence. So each person has a different level of trustworthiness in what they do, in how they do things. And also, you cannot trust me to speak very smoothly when I'm very tired. I need to have more rest, right? So these are all variations. You can take a look on your own. And I know this is probably boring, mumbo jumbo, what Uncle Jerry is saying to you, but if you study this, I promise you, it will save you 10, 20, 30 years of time because I have accumulated a lot of stuff that I have learned. Not that I know anything, but if you study them, then you don't have to learn from experience, your own experience. Then you can, at least have an intellectual understanding. All right, so I I can also make the slides available. I will put a link to the slides in the YouTube description. All right, so this is something else. This is based on the Bodhisattva way of life. I'm just gonna go through this. We need to keep on going. Yeah. All right. So we talked. So you can take a look at this. U-2. I mean, this spy airplane was shut down by the Russians. Okay. So U.S. had a challenge. We were trying to get the big picture, the Cold War, the communism. Then they came out with the Blackbird. Remember, we talked about this. We saw this, right, with Ye, Alan, and Kai. Listen, it goes at Mach 3, 12,250 miles per hour. That's about 3,200 feet per second. That's how fast this airplane can fly. Right? All right. What's the point? So this airplane is flying faster than the bullet leaving the barrel of a high-powered rifle. That's how fast this airplane flies. But check this out. It takes off. The cost of the speed. The Blackbird leaks fuel. Okay? They fill it up with fuel while it is on the runway. The tank is almost emptied. You know why? Because when this Blackbird flying at its the full speed, it is so hot, the material that's used to make the airplane expands by 4 feet. So they have to build a fuel tank that has a gap of 4 feet. And that space in the fuel tank allows the fuel to be leaked. Okay? Because once it begins to fly up to speed, then the hull, the body of the airplane heats up, then the fuel tank is sealed. Then this airplane, this fueling jet would come and fill up the Blackbird with fuel. Make sense? Okay, so what's the point? The point is, I had problems. I used to wet bed until I was 14. I never got good grades. Denzel Washington had 1.7 GPA in his first year in college. So the point is, all of us are kind of leaky in some ways. Nobody is a Superman. Nobody is invincible. Even the Blackbird, it leaks fuel on the runway. So take heart. Doesn't matter what the challenge is or what one thinks. You can definitely overcome them if you focus your thoughts on your strength and focus your thoughts on pacing and the principles associated with pacing. Make sense? All right. So these are the reminders for running a marathon or any kind of race. I'm gonna remove the pictures so you can see them. You can read this on your own. Okay? We don't have to go through it now. All right. Lastly, know when to put everything on the line, right? When you were sprinting around the track 2 Sundays ago, right, you were running hard and really, really, really hard. Everything was you were just running with all you got the last quarter lap. And I mean, you run really fast from my perspective. I never could have run that fast. My personal trainer, she was the most decorated athlete from Humboldt State. So if you want to see her, we can go see her one of these days. So summary, for every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. Okay? I mean, watching TV or playing games, that's good unless if you are getting skills. But if you just spend there, that is not a disciplined effort. A disciplined effort is, I don't know, cleaning, studying physics, studying math, studying Spanish. Every time you do something with discipline, there are multiple rewards. You have more confidence, you have more strength, you have more stamina, you are able to accelerate, you are able to protect yourself, you are able to run away when people try to beat you up, whatever. And you should run away. Okay? So pacing is not it's not about living life very quickly, do so many things at the same time and running, all nervous all day long. That's not really the point. The point is pacing is awareness, and then you make your choices at any one time. Like, even though I'm tired, but I wanted to do this, so that's a choice. That's how I pace my life. That's how I pace myself. Art of Execution framework will help you engage at your chosen level. So Erickson, I want to land this by saying good luck, practice diligently, bloom. If you have any other principles that you have in mind, please feel free to let me know. You can tell me now, you can tell me afterwards, you can text it to me, and it will be my pleasure to do some research. And I hope, I will turn off the recording in 1 minute. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on what took place today? Fantastic. Like this cup here, Cup to the right. May your cup overflow with wisdom, compassion, knowledge, strength, stamina, goal. And I wish you all the very best. So let me know what next principle you would like to do a video on. If you have anything, no pressure. And God bless. Thank you so much. Konbawa. I talk to you soon.